Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. My voice is a little messed up because I'm running about 100-degree fever, but as the saying goes, the show must go on, and we're going to make our way through it for today. Though I may call the show short if I feel myself being a little too far out of it. I think you'll all understand. But before we get into the interesting things, we have some folks to thank. First and foremost, we have to thank the good folks at IndieCD.org. The Independent Creator Directory is your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, musicians, editors, proofreaders. Basically, if you want to make a project go, this is the place you go to do it. Are also made possible by sales of the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear. All parts of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you learn the basics of swordsmanship, from so you've never held a sword to being able to teach the art to others. There's a lot in there that I don't think you'll find anywhere else. But most importantly, we are made possible by the good folks over at patreon.com/the Historical Fencing Guild. These valiant souls give freely of their funds to ensure that I have a voice and a venue with which to try to elevate others in the art of swordsmanship. And as that is one of my great passions in life, I am eternally grateful to these great people. So as the scroll gets to it, I will read their names off, and then we will get into today's program. But first, we've got to make sure you guys take note of the waiver. And huge thanks to Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, this is Bladed Thesis, another handle of his, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Steve Augusto, my OG, the number one, the first two did. I am eternally grateful to all of you for the support and the dedication that you've shown in helping me accomplish what we do with the guild. Now, hop over to the chat, and we're joined by Alec. Sword time, yay! Hi, Alec. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, Cindy Cap, and hello all. And Cindy is putting the link for my Amazon store and featuring not only the things the Historical Fencing Guild related books, but my novels and games. I have a lot coming in, we'll say early 2024. And I'm still trying to get my next novel, Haints and Hellfire, done by the end of the year. That is my kind of big thing. Sorry, I'm sweating over here. But all right. So thank you, Cindy. To the folks who followed it today, I rode with Mandy down for her to have the test. Now the problem is she was having the same test that basically caused my paralysis. So it was a very stressful situation for me. And I wasn't going to let her go down by herself, even if I was sick. So I went down, I got a blood draw I needed to do, which, well, sick is probably not the best idea, but with the scheduling, it was the only time I could do it. And she came through like a champ, minimal problems. I'm so proud of her. I am sick as a dog, and let's just say I've been having lots of buckets nearby, but we're making it. And we've got my art. Yes, my art can be found at deviantart.com/NickT. There is a slight delay, so expect at some point when I'm froggy a big upload, because I had a lot of stuff I did on my old computer that I haven't been able to upload to DA yet. I have some new stuff on this computer. I'm going to have a DA day in the very near future, and turn into the Historical Fencing Guild tonight at 7 Eastern, 7 Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, so 8, 7 Central. Yes, that's right. Now, what do we want to talk about today? All right, we've got a couple things to consider. Part of what we want to consider is, of late, I've been trying to focus on dual wielding. I've been setting you guys up. I've been talking about my drills and whatnot to take the next step in dual wielding, which, oh, and this is our channel. Thank you, Cindy. Same thing we talk every day. Time trying to take over the world. Absolutely. And I hate to borrow it, but Fabris had a great concept called one tempo. And you can do it with dual wielding swords. It does work better. As a rule, sword and dagger works far better than case of rapiers. It's a lot more versatile. It's a lot more lenient for different terrains and situations, because the way you rig your dagger can do a lot to making it a more offensive or a more defensive item. So if you put a main gouge rig on your dagger, that's going to give you an offhanded small buckler with a large, targe-like point at the end with which to go pokety-pokety. This is good. But let me get 2 sticks right here. Here. Might as well grab the light. For YouTube purposes, I will make sure that everybody understands these are very, very safe. This is polypropylene in some format that I acquired. It's a little too flexy for everyday use, but it works. Now, what I want to talk about, since I've recently made some room, I can. Many of the offline guards, which are 5, 6, 7, and 8, are very good for defense. And you will find that especially your upper, so 5 and 7, this combo is something you see a lot. It's modified in Saber. It's a very fast guard that, because hitting and then coming around hitting the other side is an incredibly common combo. But what you hope to do is knock their weapon offline and in the same motion follow through. See what happens? So let's say can I give you a stick? Do I have a stick I can give you guys? I've had to change my rig a bit. Oh, maybe. Let's see. I don't know if I'm together enough to pull this off. But, okay. You're poking at me. And that'll do. If I catch you in a classic parry to 5th, you are completely offline. I should be following that momentum and crossing over and targeting whatever this opens up. Okay? So, because it's just a little longer and just enough to be awkward. Okay. So you end up with this motion. When you parry with an offline parry, respond with an inline shot. Okay? Because that's going to be the fastest. So if you parry out here, as soon as you've got their blade, if their blade's coming at you here, you're going to want to wrap around and go for that. If there's a full opening, by all means, take the head. But what you don't want to do is, while you're parrying, let these guys drift apart. Because the real... what? Oh, play the music, please. Oh, you want... I want to listen to Eminem. I can't put Eminem on, Lewis. Play the music, please. Are you talking about the background music I have on my other programs? I don't usually play music during this one, but you're welcome to the show. I can't play something that's copyrighted. They'll take my video down, and then I'll have problems. They could take my channel down. Okay, so you pair. You're here, standard dual wielding stance with a sword and dagger. Okay. You want your dagger to keep this visual. You see how there's that triangle? Because if you do this, you will have a shot come right in and poke you in the face, because this opens the middle road. We talked about how when you're using one sword, you only have 4 quadrants. When you're using 2, you have 6 sections. And that middle quadrant, your inline, is your middle road. That is not a place you want. There are 2 places you really don't want somebody that you're fighting. You don't want their weapons getting a shot untangled at the middle road, and you don't want them flanking you. Okay? You don't want them where you're here, because I barely can register my screen with my peripheral vision. It's there, but I can only barely see it. So everything flows. Remember, everything flows from opening up the center. Okay? You always, no, not from opening, from going away from the center. Pardon the misspeech. So you want to flow out with your strikes, and you want to develop. This will be a whole different series of drills that we can build on top of the drills that I showed in the recent film. Now, the reason I'm not always drilling in those is partially those drills, the ones I'm going to be talking about, you have to build up to. So you need to be able to work towards being able to add, because you never want to subtract when you're drilling. If you're going through drills, okay, so if we're going open-handed, this. Here, I've made an open. Okay, so the weapon, if a punch comes at my arm, I can grab the wrist, pull, grab the arm, and I can do things to control. It's interesting that I'm going to jump a little bit. Evening, and come join the tea house tomorrow, where I will discuss push hands Chi Sao, which should be a great thing for all of you to watch. But yes, what time is it? Thesis. My problem is everybody I know has multiple handles, so when you're taking a punch that's come out this side, you pivot with it, because you want. If you are the stronger force, you can push through an attack. If you're significantly stronger, push through a lot of guards. Now, that's good, but, and let's see, 5:30 Mountain Time. Excellent. If you, yes, multiple hits. Yes, great to have you in. And I am sorry about being a little slow. Like I said, I'm rocking about 100-degree fever, but I'm not going to not do my show. So I will do what I can. This is why you're getting a very sedate Nick. But whenever you're doing things, you want to go, you want to keep that middle road closed. Okay? You want to be able to, and hi, Johnny. But we'll worry about that later. And this is the same you would do for a hand parry. I will, after I've given you guys at least enough product to be worth coming by my show. So I'm going to make sure that you guys have a good experience and you have as good an education as I can provide. The other thing, when we are starting to link our attacks, right? As we are evolving into the kind of fighters who are using combos, we want to make sure that we've mastered our ranges stationary first, and then start integrating the lunge while you're doing it, because many times a low line parry will turn into the most beautiful thing in the world if you can do a transverse step right. I just parry it out, transverse step, pop them either forward, or you can go tangential and pop them. A lot of times that that low shot to the thigh, there's some leg snipers out there. Um, if you can catch, I mean, we're talking with the something as simple as the George Silver windshield washer parry. The windshield wiper parry, bonk, knock that out. He has to reset, or she, um, or they, whatever. But as soon as you have control of where that weapon is, and you can keep an eye on their other weapon, if they have two, or defensive device, you can get off that line of attack so you're not there. You're not where you were when your counter started. Because as soon as you counter that, they're going to be throwing another shot at you. They're going to be doing something. So as soon as that kind of engagement happens, you want to move. It's not fully circling, but you want to get off the line, not just the line of attack, but the line of aggression. And what do I mean by why am I saying it like different? The line of attack has force from the backside to you. It's coming straight. That is wieldable momentum. That is where you get occasionally happy things where you sweep out, and as they're lunging, you lunge diagonal, switching to do a draw cut across their belly, because you have neutralized their primary weapon. It starts to be about what can I do with the minimum actions that will gain the best results. So what I recommend as we progress. So you start off with the very first video I did, oh God, how many years ago? And you learn the basic guards. Now, you can start playing with some of the stuff I did for dual wielding. That video's not perfect because I was still tinkering, but it's good enough to give you a new point to step from. After that, you need to start thinking a little more aggressively. Now, I know, Nick, you've been talking defense over aggression for a long time. And the problem with defense over aggression, if it's always there, you can never win with just defense unless they gleefully throw themselves on your sword, which they will do. It's happened more bouts than I'd care to imagine. People will gleefully lunge right onto your sword. However, we need to learn counter aggression and never straight opposition. And why not? Well, I might be stronger than my lesser opponent. That's true. You might be the stronger opponent. You might be a significantly larger opponent. And there are nasty things you can do to a significantly smaller opponent. I talk about it in my book. But do you train in techniques that only are reliable some of the time? Or do you take a technique that's more reliable, better for processing how you wish to deal with everybody? Because you don't know. I've known some short people who are incredibly, scarily strong, and it throws people off when they get in a bind, and then their sword is just knocked out of the way. There's an ancient video floating around where I was fighting a gentleman named Peter. And sorry. Why, thank you for that compliment, Dusty. And he was through a bunch of hassle in the SCA, he was a former king who lost some titles and stuff. It got stupid. But he was a fencer of no small water. And he had a class where he would spar you. And instead of telling you what you did wrong, he he would tell you what you were doing right. And he started to get genuinely annoyed with me because as soon as there was tacto established, as soon as blade on blade hit, okay, I'm off. I'm not sticking around. He'd want to get that contact, and then, most people would fight it. I refused the blade. And he asked me, I mean, it's really irritating you do that. No one else does it. And he goes, why do you do it? I mean, it's working for you, but what got you doing? I said, you, sir, are a heavy fighter, a tall, very strong, very impressive heavy fighter. Even if you're fencing right now, if I try to play the game of strength versus strength, I'm going to lose every time. So why would I even engage in that? Because you have to understand, especially when you are sword fighting / fencing for the entertainment, for the education, for the spirit of it. You're doing it to learn. And that's where you should be. So you want to approach things a little more mildly than if you are, ball going all out because it's a actual self-defense situation. You don't want to do that. So what I'm telling you is the only way to deal with the threats that are coming is leave yourself wiggle room and keep ego out of your assessment. You need to learn to read your opponents, and then you need to learn to respond properly. Now, once in a while, you'll be fencing somebody in a group like the FCA or Amp Guard who's just freaking fast. They're just going to get the lunge in and pop you before lay on is laid. In, out, and done. And that happens to everybody. It really does. But you can learn from it, and then you know that that's what they do. This is why the idea of having secret techniques in a group where people fight the same people repetitively, even if it's across months at a time, is hazardous because they won't stay secret. Tricks will not save you reliably. Tricks are great to have. They're fun. But tricks will not be your bread and butter. You need basic technique and understanding that's built on the previous techniques you've already had. So we talked about single weapons for a long time, and I'll happily go back to that. It's a good thing to start in spring as a cyclic kind of thing. But in order to build, we have to advance with our styles. Now, if we're going to do that, we have to advance either with more refinement, and that's great. Never neglect your single when you're training in double. I hate to say it, this is the downside to playing lots of styles, is you don't get to stop training the basics as you advance. You take what you're learning from your advancing and you go back and you revisit the basics. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, timing will always beat speed. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Timing will always beat speed. Because once you know somebody's speed, even if they're way faster than you are, you can predict their actions and just not be there when they get there. And what you get when you reach that point is incredibly frustrating to the quick draw, either the aggressive quick draw shoot sniper, because you're moving slow. But you are moving slowly with purpose. Now, if you can move fast, that's great, but never at the cost of control. And I'm sorry, because of some of the spasms in my back, I can't hold my neck up quite properly, so my posture is suffering just a bit. People in the back just got here. They didn't make it in time. Could you say that again? Sure. Okay. Timing beats speed. If you can figure out your opponent's timing, it doesn't matter if they're playing, if they're going very quickly. If you know how long it takes them, most of the time you can avoid it. Or yeah, that shot's coming real fast. The harder you throw, the faster you throw a shot, the harder you throw a shot. The harder you throw the shot, the harder it is to divert. Oh, you're more than welcome. So if they're fast, vast majority of time, and there will be truly great fight. I mean, there's always truly great fighters, but we're talking your run of the mill people. Uh, they will they will be frustrated because they've got more reach than you. They've got more speed than you, and you're killing them. And in their mind, they're doing everything that they've always done that works right. Why are you killing me? And then you get to find out what kind of ego they have. Because my job is to build people up. I came in second so many tourneys because I fought people who simply one or two there'd be somebody who just showed up at the last minute infinitely better than me, and it happens. There's always a bigger fish. But a lot of times it was the same couple dudes who just ego has an infinite armor rating. And in a game where kills are matters of honor, the dishonorable do tend to win. But that being said, the trick of knowing the timing, because everybody's got a oh yes, Dusty, I have seen those. Oh god, I know what they're called. It's in my big book of martial arts. They are essentially whip swords. They are just horrific and dangerous to. They're as dangerous to themselves as they are a as they are to the opponent. And I cannot abide those. Well, I know what they're called. I just can't find it right now. But yes, I have seen them. But those are flail weapons. Don't mistake those for swords. Okay? A sword has to have enough rigidity. Urumi, yes, thank you. To pierce or cut straight. However, that is not a sword. That is a flail weapon. That is literally a wibbly wobbly blade. And that is so different. There are reasons why everybody tends to aside for a very small group of people, the rest of the world walks away from that. It's real interesting. If you look, you're going to find something. The vast majority of swords are going to be 20 to 30 inches long, one-handed, because two-handed swords you don't need much length, and even the two-handed swords don't usually go much longer than that. Remember, the most popular sword in the world is not the katana. It is the modern messer, also known as the machete. It works because it's simple, it's effective, and it does the job it's meant to do. Machetes, when wielded properly, are incredibly safe for the wielder. They're not terribly convoluted. They're not terribly over-engineered. And there are variances, but they are simple, functional weapons. And we must, there is a temptation with pretty styles that exist and pretty weapons that exist to try to chase the new thing. And there's nothing wrong with it if you're doing that as, you see, I am both a nerd and a geek. A nerd is focused on academic and educational processes. A geek is focused on collecting and memorabilia and things like that. I am a geek who collects skills. In RPG terms, I would be referred to as a skill monkey. Sorry about that. Just need to hydrate a bit. Sweat pours off the body like the music that you play. If we are going to actually reach our potential, pick a style and study it to the point of proficiency. I'm not saying mastery. Mastery is a whole nother game. Proficiency is make it go. Mastery is be able to instruct it and understand the deeper levels of the basic techniques. Proficiency is a lot more about what, mastery is a lot more about why. So you need to always first build proficiency in the weapon. And if you want to seek mastery, that's fine. I applaud that. And then once you've achieved that, you consider the study of the next weapon. Just like the guys who go through the different martial arts belts. My goal has always been where this sort of thing is born is to work towards practical application of any given weapon. Being that I can pick up any sword I can physically pick up. Okay. With within reasons. And I can at least understand how it works. Or how one can use it. I may not know the intricacies of a given weapon, but I can make most weapons function well enough. As I like to say, I can make go. And I understand that the root, if you want to get better, you need study. Have a source. It could be my videos. It could be books like mine. There are many, many great books I can recommend. Study, drill, test, which means stress test. You have to spar. If you truly want to understand a style, it may be very safe, very light, but you have to spar. And most importantly, observe. Because if you want to be better, you have to find people who are better than you do, watch what they do, and at bare minimum, ponder upon why they're doing it and why it works. And that's where you get into what groups like the Society for Creative Anachronism should be, what AmpGuard should be, at least at practices, what HEMA should be. You may take your lumps from the guy or gal, because Lord knows there are many women who can kick my butt. But then you have to ask. The water bowl test of ninjutsu. The master is holding a bowl of water. The incoming student is holding a bowl of water. It says, if you want to come in, You need to get this bowl from my hand and, place your bowl in my hand without spilling it. So they spar, these gentlemen. And naturally, you know, the young, upstarting would-be student attacks aggressively, thinking, I will just get this over. I'll take the bowl from him. And ends up on his foot. I mean, on his butt. All right. I watched everything the guy got hit with in my mind. The whole choreography ran. So he gets up, refills his bowl, tries again. This time, he's hanging back. He's being more calculating. I says, you only have 3 more shots. If you can't get this by 4, you can't come in. So he goes, great level of trickery. Feigns some shots, does a leg sweep, trying to make, goes the same. The third time, he's frustrated. He's furious now because he was quite the martial artist. He should be accepted. How dare they gatekeep him like this? So he attacks with everything he has, every technique, every rage, and he is just swatted aside like an insect. And he's laying there on the ground, having had his bowl of water dumped unceremoniously over his head. And he says, and the hard master who was sparring with him, who was interviewing him to see if he could come in, said, you have one more try. And the student got up and he thought about it. And he thought about what he had learned about the philosophy of defense. Please don't let my speech impediment distract from my capabilities. And he looked and he went, he had a realization. He said, hard master, he said, I humbly ask, will you switch your bowl with mine? And after a long moment, and he bowed deeply, hard master switches it and says, welcome to the school. We live in an era where we have to always think in terms of victory conditions. And hi, Michael T. When we are engaging in a match with our opponent, especially in melee versus individual dueling for tournaments and stuff, I really found okay. But I fought much better on the melee field. And the reason is I had the advantage. On the melee field, I very often could choose who I was fighting and how I was fighting them. I could assess the entanglement. It wasn't a fair start, because if you are engaging in a fair fight, friends, it's a fight you can lose. So aside from basic morality, and this might shock you coming from someone of paladin-like tendencies, you don't ever want to engage in a fair fight when it matters. You want every advantage. That's part of it. And the other part is victory conditions. Never lose the war for sake of the battle. What do I mean? If I am fighting somebody and they are significantly better than I am, taller than I am, whatever, and I'm in a melee, especially a spawn battle, if I use my if I kill him in game, he simply walks back respawns, and then comes back looking for me. The complete opposite of reality. So my victory condition is neutralizing the threat. So very often I was a big proponent for leg 'em and leave 'em. Okay? That being, take the shot. Get their legs so they're kneeling, wait till they're comfortable, and walk away. Was it shady? Yes. Was it annoying? Yes. Did it defeat the purpose of the fun of the situation? Yes. Was it the tactically expedient way to mitigate the damage this individual can do? Yes. This is why, as someone who's much shorter reach than almost everybody, I'm a big fan of arm sniping. If I take away their tools, I don't have to kill them. I don't have to be good enough to beat them. I just have to be good enough to get where they can't hold swords anymore. And then I win. And that's nice because I don't have to get as close to them. Oh, we have some great comments. Foxy Screen and reminiscent of Bruce Lee's quote, "Do not fear the man who practices 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times." Excellent quote. Yeah, I will be honest. I am not what I used to be. My road to recovery has been long and slow, but I still do 20 of all 8 guards every day. In fact, when I leave this, thick as I am, I'm going to do as many of those as I can comfortably. Now I'm at a point of old age and treachery where I understand if it's going to hurt or not feel right, I won't do as many as I usually do. That's fine. My opponent is the version of me sitting on the couch. But in 20, in a 8-part system, when you add a couple of the other things I throw, because I usually do about 10 movements. That means I'm throwing 200 shots a night. That is not enough for me to get good. I used to throw literally thousands of shots. That's how I got good quickly. Every day I'd pick up whatever sword trainer I could get my paws on, and I would take the shots that I was learning and I would throw them over and over. Hanging target ball, supported pillow, outside, whenever I was bored. You throw the shot, you learn it, and you learn the mechanics. You learn what speed feels right, what your range is, what your calibration is, and you go through and you put in the work. But it's worth it. Because when you put in the work, then you just maintain it. And you find yourself going back to old guards and going, do I want to I mean, when you start adjusting it, you're adjusting your grip by millimeters. You're adjusting how far you're penetrating to make sure that it's, if you're going to fourth, that it's just enough to get the opponent's blade to pass you by. Because the more mastery you have, the narrower margins you can comfortably operate in. Takes arms, opponent uses fire breath, Nick. Well, see, I take arms and I get the heck out of the way. If they use fire breath, I use firearm. I am notorious for, especially at my own events, carrying Nerf weaponry to prove that point. It keeps people sharp. I've been known to open fire on sparring sessions with Nerf guns simply to keep them sharp. I'm good like that. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And that is really the mantra of the old man. And I will tell you this, I have been crippled many times in my life, and I use that term deliberately for the same reason I call myself fat, That way it can't be wielded against me. And I have come back for it every time because I'm too dang stubborn, as this broadcast is clearly demonstrating. But if you love it and it's part of you, you express it. Because remember, martial arts are arts. Okay? I know that sounds odd. Martial arts are arts. If you wish to learn to draw or to paint, you learn the basics of line and shape and color, a pattern and texture and compilation. Composition, I mean, sorry. And you study and you do basic studies till you get good. And that's how one proceeds in all the arts, be they martial or graphic or literary. And yes, Cindy's throwing some real wisdom here, so I need to. First, she's saying, someone asked me how I learned a 108 move form in 6 months. I practiced every day. And anyone who's a fan of one of my favorite movies of all time, The 13th Warrior, gets that too. How did you learn? I listened. Paying attention is something very few of the manuals speak of. They take it as given. And if there's anything I've learned in education, you never take anything as given. Michael T says, youth and skill are no match for old age and I'm sorry, age and treachery. Old warriors are old for a reason. Oh god. That literally old age, youth and exuberance are no match for old age and treachery. It's literally on the wall in my father's home. Well, my parents live together, but it's very much my dad's place. It's much dad energy. Uh, and that's a fact. That's why we need to respect and listen to our elders when we can. I'm not saying obey them blindly. You should never obey anything blindly, but respect and listen to your elders. It's very impressive. And this is the one where Cindy's can get. Deliberate movement for someone with chronic joint shenanigans is like insulin for a diabetic. You skip too many times and you get feeling pretty lousy. Exactly. That's why literally when I finish this broadcast, I'll probably take this over hoodie because I won't be shivering with the cold of the fever. And I'm going to go through slow and steady my drills like I do every night. I may not do a full length because I know what my body can and can't do. I know what it feels like because I've paid attention to my body. Again, we keep coming back to the pay attention, observe, learn. And as you're going into a situation, any situation, you should figure out what your victory conditions are. I have some pretty big ones. I like to go to bed with the same number of holes in me I started out with. No more and no less. I think that's a good goal for the day. I don't want to die. I don't want anyone I love to die. I don't want to have to be forced to do harm to someone if it can at all be avoided, from the practical self-defense side of things. I don't want to collapse on the field again from heat exhaustion. Learning our victory conditions and then applying them outside, because there's some people, I want to win the tourney. And I applaud them. They're great folks. There are people who, my buddy Al comes to mind. His theme could be the opening for Pokemon because it's like, I want to be the very best. Boom, boom. That isn't even why I took up the sword in the first place. I took up the sword so that it would be a combination of I could control the fear and the anger that I carried with me due to trauma. I took up the sword so that I would never again be totally powerless. Because I will tell you, there's a difference between losing a fight and being totally powerless in an altercation. It does things to you. And I've known people who didn't learn that Yang simplified 24 in 3 years. You made the T106 6 months. Yeah. Sorry. It happens. Earworms happen. I was up late last night listening to some music that had very good earworm tendencies because I am a connoisseur of some pretty good old music. Uh, and I have great respect for some people, including someone by the name of Stevie Nicks and Hart and a few other things, because I was in the mood for female rockers and country for a bit there. But this all comes back to understanding the basics and training every day. It's like, Nick, you say that every time. Yes, it must be very important. Please remember, I have ADHD. Well, ADD. They didn't give me the H for reasons I cannot understand, but we'll go with that. And for other medical reasons, I can't have caffeine, which is unholy and cruel and unusual. I lose things. My focus shifts. Now, it's interesting that thesis mentioned the Yang 24 short form. I was learning that at the same time I was fencing, and they merged, and I began to use, because I realized very quickly that Tai Chi was a weapon style. It was a sword style. And it was a thrusting sword style, or at least large ports. Josie's on a vacation far away. Oh, no, I'm not going to even get that. But so what happened is my study melded into what I do. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? Because I'm incorporating it so heavily into rapier that it's not what it was. Okay, let's see where it goes. And that's where, and one of my big things for you guys is I think the Western martial arts uh, are better, and deliberately so, at explaining their actions. Okay, and it's because of the way they were written down and preserved and such. There is less flowery language to distract in Western martial arts, as a rule. There are exceptions, of course. Whereas Eastern often has flowery language and symbolism and philosophical layers. But Eastern styles almost uniformly possess a grace that is not discussed in Western styles. Fluidity as a term is not discussed. And as Cindy said, deliberate movement for someone with chronic joint pregnancy, less like insulin for a diabetic. You skip it too many times, you get feeling pretty lousy. That's true. And when you are doing slow, controlled movements, when you're teaching your body what you need it to do gently, you are doing less damage to your joints, your arms, your shoulders, and training the ligaments. That's part of why my style allows me to come back from major injury after disability, because I've kept the Eastern fluidity in my approach. And the only reason I have that is because I talk to Eastern martial artists. The only reason I have a shield style approach to buckler fighting, sword and buckler, is because I walked over. We had some joyful, kind of big, dumb jocks, climbed up on a ladder, wrapped one of them on the helmet, said, "Hey, that looks like a bigger version of this. How make go?" And I'm a heavy. I don't care. They're saying, hold it out and use it like a point defense, which is great for a little tiny buckler like this guy. Hold it out, point defense. That's fine. That's great for a little tiny buckler. But if I've got some size on it, I've got one I lovingly refer to as my ruffle. Looks like a big potato chip almost. I can do different things with that because I fight it like a shield. I can fence with a strap shield because I started learning heavy techniques and light techniques. Even if I didn't authorize it heavy, I was learning the mentality. So what you want to do to take this whole lecture, rewind all the way to the beginning, build your basics. We are at the part of the year where a lot of people are already writing 2023 off. They're saying, well, 2024 is out there. I'll deal with that later. You don't need an outside object, temporal ritual, an outside force to tell you now is the time to think about changing your life. Because if you try to change then, you won't. Because the motivation came from a outside source with no accountability. But if you go, I want to be better, and you start right now, you will get better. I want to learn. You will learn. And it will take time. And not everyone is equal. And guys, that's okay. I just say it again. Your opponent is not the guy you're fighting. Unless it's, an actual self-defense and then it's an enemy, and that's a whole different ball of wax. Your opponent is the version of you that would stagnate, that wouldn't grow and learn and change. The part of you that would surrender to entropy, that is the enemy. Sorry about the bottle ASMR, guys. And yes, you're having a little music show over here. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. And I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Do. Anyway. The trick is, guys, and with all this, now is the time when people put their stuff aside and they surrender to the despair of winter. They surrender to the distraction of the holidays. My drills, and this is 200 shots, only take me a couple minutes a day. I'm not talking 15, I'm talking like 5. A couple minutes. You've got a couple minutes that you can squeeze in your schedule. And right now, I want to encourage you to do so. Sorry, running out of juice right now. To build something for yourself and of yourself. On my other program, on my other YouTube channel, I promote authors and creatives and the like. And we talk about the accountability. Cindy has been talking about her accountability. What's yours? And you don't have to tell me. But find your accountability. And then from there, build on it. If you fail, Don't get up and try again. Get up and figure out why, and then try again. We have science at our disposal. I hope this has been helpful. I hope I was coherent. I'm still incredibly feverish and stuff. If you've enjoyed this and you stayed this long, please hit the like button. Please share this around. And guys, I'm going to tell you the same things. You didn't fail. You just found another way that didn't work. Exactly. I'm going to tell you guys, keep your eyes open, do your drills, be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, thank you for supporting your local sword master. I will see you next week. Toodles.